When you're a high-performing leader, you've got a sense of urgency. And so you want it done, and you want it done yesterday. And you care about, what you're passionate about, what your purpose is, and your vision for kids. And so it matters a lot. And so I think that it's hard to know how fast do you go, and where do you push, and where do you pull, and when do you slow down, and how do you give everyone else a voice?
We're here at TexEdCon 2024 in San Antonio, Texas, with a special co-branded episode of The Path Forward and Unlock 360. So I have two very special guests, and I'm bringing these guests back together. And for some of you that remember our Evolve to Solve episodes from last year, it's a little bit of a check-in to see where we are. So I have, everybody knows this guy, Superintendent Westwood ISD, Wade Stanford, and CEO of LTL 360, Lead, Teach, Learn, Wendy York Davoud. Welcome, both of you.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks, Rick. It's a pleasure to be back with you and join with your greatness.
And this trio, I'm excited.
Yes, that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's starting off on a good note. We're very jovial today. We're excited to see each other, excited to catch up. So let me kind of refresh, right? We put Wendy on the hot seat. We were talking leadership. The no holds barred. We came to visit you.
We actually did it in my district.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
That's right. And really a free-for-all about leadership, coaching, how do we get growth for students, how do we help our teachers. And so from that, y'all had a partnership, and I want to ask some hard-hitting questions to both of you.
You're going to dig deep, aren't you, today?
I absolutely have to dig deep. Let's start with,
But Rick, before you start that, let me say this, that I think this is a neat part, and I think it's going to come out in our work in that this is a check-in, a piece of looking at the scorecard, to see where we're at, because a lot of times, and I think we even do it on podcasts, we talk about here's what we're going to do, here's the things that are going to happen, and we never go back to see
measure
did anything happen.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's what's cool.
I'm excited
to
talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, set the stage for what the initial work was like. How did it get started, and what was your vision to ask Wendy and her team to help lead your staff through?
Right. And so if we go back in time and we look at it, we had, I think when you and I did a podcast at midwinter, I believe, and we had iReady on with that one, and I had unveiled our what we call 10X goal or unachievable goal. Some people look at me as unachievable, that every single student in our district would be reading 2 years above grade level, and I did not have a time frame on it at that point.
Sure.
But we came and we started working, and we evolved, and that time frame is May of 2025, which is not far off.
When you initially told me what the goal, my eyebrows went up, because
that's what nearly everybody has done. Yeah.
Because very, very ambitious, very ambitious goal.
Right.
And then so, obviously you met Wendy, her team, and go ahead.
There was a piece that your team had reached out after that and had said, what are some things that you're working on, some things that you're really saying you need some help or some support on. And so I talked about coaching and coaching administrators up and doing some things. You and I talked about coaching. And then they said, well, we've got another person that we're associated with, and that was Wendy and LTL 360, and said, would you be willing to go on a podcast with her and just ask her some questions and then just see if it works out?
You framed it a lot better than in my mind. I was like, hey,
that makes me feel good,
like,
Rick, that it sounded better.
She was very courageous and brave of like, hey, I don't know what Wade's going to ask you. Yeah. I really haven't framed it. Like, it is trial by fire, and it's make or break. But if you're willing, let's do it. Because, obviously, number one, you're about kids. Right. And so I thought it might be a good match, right? So when we got to a point where, okay, it is a good match, what was the direct ask of Wendy and her team to support your
and so I think Wendy, I think it'd be So let's do this.
Fire away.
Okay.
Let Wendy say what she thought I was asking.
Okay.
Because I think because I know what I think, what I thought I asked, but I think if she tells me what she thought I asked, and then I'll tell you what I thought.
Wait, Wendy, I feel like there's some kind of Jedi stuff he's trying to pull on us, but we'll play along.
Yeah. The next question, please.
Yeah. Exactly. But I like that. What did you hear and take in and say, all right, this is what I'm hearing the needs are of the district?
Okay, so I heard we're looking for a partner, someone who can truly become part of our Panther family, someone who is invested in the success of our students, someone who is going to coach us to work together to get to our 10X goal. That's what I heard.
That's exactly what I asked. I don't think I put it quite like that.
I was about to say, she did that way better than...
She reframed it a lot better than it came out the first time that I put it. But that's what I wanted, was somebody that truly was part of us and was invested in our journey. And I knew, Rick, this is what I knew, that to say that every student was going to read 2 years above grade level was a big lift, and we needed help. And we needed somebody to help, and really needed somebody from the outside to have that critical eye to look at us and to guide us and to help us, and then hold us accountable. And I think that was the piece that I knew was so important, because it just gets hard when you're trying to do that.
You get too close to it. It's almost like, there are times when you're trying to guide your own children, people that you're really close. Sometimes you get so close to it, you can't see the forest for the trees. Yeah. It really becomes that, and it's just a fresh perspective. Now, Wendy, I know you well enough. You are meticulous and very organized and very detail-oriented. That first day when you come, just tell me what you were thinking. This is kickoff day. You've prepared, but what's going on inside?
Oh man, okay. There's a lot to unpack here. First, I'm giggling because my husband and one of my colleagues and her husband are looking on, and you say I'm very organized, and they're like, oh man, you haven't seen her office floor.
They actually have a different word for it, don't they?
They probably do. So anyway, but beyond that, what you were asking about, that first day, before we go in to work with a team, I want to make sure that we are complimenting and advancing their work. We're using their language, that we're not seen as something different or something else.
Right.
And so Wade and I met a couple of times to prepare. They had already started working on a literacy framework to guide their work. Their coaches were working on what that looks like and sounds like in action. And so getting a good sense of where they had left off, I put a couple ideas out there. It sounds like maybe we need to get really clear on the purpose and the timeline of where you're headed, and just kind of let people know what the work will look like in terms of Lead, Teach, Learn 360 support coming in. Also, however, that very first day was something that we offered to Wade to give them a chance to experience the work in action.
Sure.
And we thought, let's film it. So...
No pressure.
No pressure.
None whatsoever.
So how did you prepare your staff for this first day? What did you share with them?
I said, hey, we're going to do this.
All right.
And I said, seriously, it was, Wendy's here to help. There's this is what we're going to do. And by the way, they're going to be filming it. And it's going to feel awkward, but I just want you to relax, and I just want you to just be you. And I think if we go back and think about that day, they really worked hard at that.
They did. They did. Yeah. I mean, I think all of us, I know I was in the beginning a little bit ooh, I mean, there were a lot of cameras, a lot of lights, about 18, 20 of us in the room, within the confines of those cameras and lights, microphones on the tables. It was, it's not something that I know as myself as an educator was used to, and that I'm still working to get comfortable with. But, it took a little bit, but not that long before people started to warm up and open up and just be themselves and be comfortable.
And I felt like it became any other collaborative time that we had and it was like
Yeah.
everything disappeared except for the work.
Yeah.
And I think that's a gift that Wendy had, that was able to bring that piece. And you talk about organization, you talk about the structure, the pieces, and that's what I just applaud her for the piece that she looked at and said there needs to be clarity, there needs to be some timeline and some structure to your timeline. And I think that's the piece as a leader. I have a bigger vision. I see it from a different level, and I know my limits, and it's hard for me to dig into that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just is. And I think that's okay as a leader, that you have those limits. As long as you know those limits, then you have people to compliment you. And Wendy is complimented us that day and every day since, because she's gifted in those things, and she doesn't mind pushing me to get to those.
You know, I take us back to one of our original conversations. I knew I had a good person that cares about schools. When I asked her a question and she said, honestly, Rick, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I don't really know how that was going to look and how that's going to work. And I'll never forget that, because you really don't hear that in our, even some of our buddies and colleagues. Like, it's hard to admit we don't have the answers, but I know how to get us there. I know the path. We'll discover what those answers need to be along the way.
Yeah, I think ego, I think pride, I think
Trust.
yeah, those things, yeah, they get in the way. And I even agree the trust piece, because we're scared of people not trusting us if we say we don't know.
Yeah.
You know? But our ego, our pride, the level of trust, just this perception of who we think we are and who people think we are, I think all those things get in our way of being able to say, I don't know.
We're supposed to have the answers.
Yeah, we're supposed to. And when in reality, we all know we don't. But I respect that. And when Wendy at any point in time says, hey, I'm not for sure, but I'm going to figure it out as we're going through the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is kind of the plan, but I'm gonna listen, and I'm gonna feel, and I'm gonna take it where it needs to go. And that piece builds a deep, deep trust in me.
Well, thank you. Yeah. It's like you have to know what you're after and keep your eye on that.
Right.
And then the activities, the questions you're going to ask, the where you're going to push, the where you're going to pull, that's the dance that's hard to describe.
Yes.
But that
it reveals itself in the process.
it does.
Yes.
And so, in fact, my colleagues and I were just talking about this. Erin, who's here with me today, one of my colleagues and I were talking about this
She's
last
the one
night.
that does all the work.
She does.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Wait, you're not
I
supposed to
know.
tell
Well,
her. No,
yeah, but I got to give Erin
No,
a shout out.
She's amazing.
Yes.
And we were talking with our better halves that are here with us about. She was saying about how I may have 60 slides and be like, no, skip that one. That's not what I want.
Yeah.
And it's like, because it's not about the slide we're going to look at.
Right.
It's not necessarily about having a pre-scripted plan of questions you're going to ask. It's about what are the goals for this meeting that are going to lead to the larger outcomes and results for kids that the district is after.
Yeah, and I think so many providers, Rick, lose sight of the end outcome. They start thinking about the description of what they said they were going to provide, and they're worried about checking the box saying I provided this or that.
Sure.
But they forget the end outcome. I think that's what LTL 360, Wendy and Erin and the entire team, Kristen, have all done as we've been on this journey, is that they've kept their eye on the ball. They've kept their eye on the go, and they are relentless at going towards that.
Wendy, and I'm going to ask you this too, Wade, as you're going through that first day, or maybe it's not the first day, is there ever a moment like when you stand back and you know they're on board with you, that like, I got them. We're in it together. Wade and I presented earlier today, and it million times, and Martha was there with us, who's a great friend, but you're always looking at the folks that you're working with to try to get a sense of am I hitting it? Am I on? But is there any moment within the process you're like, all right, we're working as a team, like where everybody's in it. The trust is there. Can you think of a kind of a watershed moment of that?
That's a tough one, Rick.
It's easy for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
Please go. You go first.
All right. So it was the first day. It was in the soon-to-be Westwood Middle School. I think it's going to be I think it may just be a regular classroom, but it was the library.
Mm-hmm.
It was our first meeting.
Yeah, okay.
And you could feel people in the room looking at cameras, looking at microphones, thinking, I got to pick the microphone up and this. You could feel Wendy, you could feel me thinking, okay, how are we going to navigate this? Because this is weird, this is different. I've never done this before. And we're sitting there, and I do not remember the exact statement, but somebody gave just a gut level, honest statement. And everybody turned, and then the conversation became normal.
Genuine.
It was just genuine, yeah. And that's when I'm sitting there going, this is going to work. This is good.
Yeah, I can't remember the statement either. I do know what you're talking about, though. It was when you could start to hear the team opening up and pushing back on each other and questioning one another,
right,
despite the cameras, despite the microphones,
right,
the lights, all of that. It's like, okay, now we're seeing a real team engaging in healthy conflict and disagreement and getting to a place, though, where they can all come together.
Because they wanted to go forward.
And move forward, yeah.
And so for me as a leader, and Rick, you've probably have been there, and I know, Wendy, you've been there. I'm sitting there, and I trusted Wendy, and I knew that this was the right partner. But when you go into those meetings, you're going, I just hope everybody else sees it. I just hope they give her a chance.
100%.
I just hope.
100%, yes.
You're
never sure because
No.
you believe it, but you're just never sure how other people receive it.
Yeah. And then when they did, I just want to stand up and yell.
Hallelujah.
I didn't, but I wanted to, because I'm like, that's when I said, well, I'm not going to say exactly the words that were in my head, but I said, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to get our goal.
That's awesome. Like, just, those type of moments are just priceless.
Yep.
Wendy, from your perspective, where are we now in the work?
That's such a great question. And
yeah, because I'm anxious to hear this, because I missed the last session because I was on vacation. And this, I think, before she answers this, because this is the level of trust that I have. I went on vacation. And we had
I saw your pictures, by the way.
They were good, weren't they?
Yes. They were good.
And so there was a meeting or a collaborative of our entire team, and Wendy and I debriefed and talked about it. And I said, you've got it. I trust you 100%. And
yes,
people that know me know that doesn't happen with everybody.
Okay.
Tell us about the work.
Thank you.
Where are you?
Okay.
Where are you now?
So where are we now? So our service model is a cyclical improvement model. So we are engaging in 6 cycles of improvement. I say we, I'm putting myself into that Panther family already. See? Mm-hmm. And so we've already launched cycle 1. We're actually coming up on the conclusion of cycle 1 at the site level. So we work with the district leadership team, or what Westwood calls their instructional excellence design team, which is Wade and some of his cabinet members and district office administrators, as well as all school site principals, assistant principals, and coaches.
Okay.
And so that team launched the work at the end of July. And then we went out and worked with each of the 4 school sites, and we work with them individually. Their principals and what we call admin teams, but it's principals and coaches together for each site, and then their school site leadership team. And so we help them develop a school site leadership team. Some already had one in place, as some wanted to make some adjustments, but help that school site leadership team say, okay, so here is our district-wide goal. What is it that our school site, based on our data, needs to focus on to help us actually have an impact and ensure that we get there as a district? So the school site leadership teams mapped out a 1-page plan of action It's really beautiful because their literacy framework includes, phonics, phonemic awareness, fluency, guided reading. That's the primary school. That's where they're really focused in on. That's what their data said they needed to be focused in on. Their elementary school is looking at academic language and vocabulary development. The middle school is looking at comprehension and listening and speaking and improving in those areas, as well as reading comprehension. And then the high school is hitting writing hard. And so
Nice.
if you look at their literacy framework, each one of those elements, each school, based on their data, has now selected a focus and mapped out a plan of action. They've all already launched that plan with their staff. And so where we are now is we're about to head back next week, and the school site leadership teams are coming together to bring in their evidence of impact. Is it working? How do
love it.
we know? Is it not? What do we do next? And so Wade doesn't know this yet, but where we are now is, I think, probably where he would imagine. We are in a place of some really amazing stuff happening, and also some people getting real scared.
Discomfort.
And discomfort. People are tired. People are feeling stressed in some ways, like, how are we going to hit this goal? And so there's a little bit of that. I was actually just talking with some of your site leaders last week about the diffusion of innovation model, and
Yep.
we just got to get to that tipping point. And where are you now? Do you have your early adopters? How many people are feeling that, are kind of pushing back, or feeling like there's no hope and they can't do it? Is it really, about what percentage? And
Gotcha.
most schools are feeling like they're, I think, about 50-50 or at least 60-40, which is good. That means they have
good.
the innovators, they have those early adopters, they have those that early majority, and now they're just starting to work on the late majority. And we know sometimes the laggards are going to lag, and you may not get everybody.
Right.
But if you have most of your staff rallying around this and giving it everything they have for kids, there's no way that you can't have an impact.
Absolutely. I want to throw one question out to both of you and hear your answers. Wade, I'm going to go with you first. How do we get in our own way as school leaders, as superintendents?
Wow. So I think number one, we get caught up in the noise, the external noise around us, the noise that this or that is more important.
Mm-hmm.
And then we become a victim of the whirlwind of life. And I think that's where we're kind of at right now. There's a whirlwind going on that is school.
Yes.
And we let it get in the way. And then I think the third way is we listen. I hope this makes sense. We listen to ourselves a lot more than we talk to ourselves. And the listening to ourselves is all negative statements. I can't do this. I can't do that. This isn't going to happen. That's too big. When we talk to ourselves, we say things like, Wade, you can do this. Wade, this can happen. Rick, you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
You think about it, and changing it from I to your name makes so much difference, because you never say, I can do this. You say, Wade, you can do this.
I really love this
Yeah.
tip.
Yeah.
I'm going to start applying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it a lot.
I'll send you a PO for that.
Okay.
That's a
Or an
great
invoice, actually. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Like
but,
when you're
yeah.
when you're thinking in your own, like what I like to call my own dysfunction.
Yes,
I get
agree.
in my way.
Yeah.
What is how do we get in the way of the work as school leaders?
Oh gosh, I see. My seat was getting real hot because I thought you were going to say, "How do I get in?"
No. Because
You want me to help you with that?
because this is a critical question. Because especially, look, I mean, we're competitive, we're ambitious, we're motivated. We've had success along our career, and now we have this thing, but we tend to get in our own way. And I'm not saying Wade specifically, but from a global perspective, what do you see, and how do leaders get in our own way of the progress?
There's a lot of ways, and I'm not going to say it's school leaders, because I will own it myself.
Okay.
But we have when you're a high performing leader, you've got a sense of urgency, and so you want it done, and you want it done yesterday.
Absolutely
and
right.
and you care about what you're passionate about, what your purpose is, and your vision for kids, and so it matters a lot. And so I think that it's hard to know how fast do you go, and where do you push and where do you pull, and when do you slow down, and how do you give everyone else a voice? I think that's one of the ways.
That's true.
You're absolutely spot on, and my experience, there's a lot of reasons why that superintendency didn't work out for me, but what you just said is what I have to own that process. I'm going too fast because I see it. But if I don't get everybody there, it will never happen.
I talked a little bit about that this morning, Rick, when we were talking in artificial intelligence, is that we know it, we think it, we're in it day in and day out, 24/7, and we're going, but we don't give anybody else a chance to get there with us.
Yep.
And we expect them just to get there with us.
Yeah.
And that causes the discomfort.
Yeah.
That causes the lack of trust. That causes the anxiety. And so sometimes we have to slow down to give them a chance to catch up.
It's home. The way that you frame that just hit home a little bit, because that's one of the things that I constantly reflect on is about
So
my
as a high school principal, I found that out. I went to an assessment and found that out about myself.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they told me, they said, Wade, you already know everything that's going to occur, but your staff has not had a chance to find that out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they're finding it out now in the work.
Yeah.
Because.
Well, I'm better now. That was the
Okay. The last question, and I got to wrap us up, or we'll keep going.
Oh,
okay.
yes, we will. We will do this all day.
Okay. Give us one thing to grow on quickly. One thing to grow on as we continue the work.
I think the next breakthrough for Westwood is going to be getting real precise about the evidence of impact and the progress monitoring tools that we're using and looking
Love
at.
it.
Yeah. And I think it's focusing on 1% better every day. 1% better every day is 14 minutes and 24 seconds during the day. If you can dedicate 14 minutes to 24 seconds to getting better each
This
day,
guy, I love it.
You will get better.
Yeah.
Reason why I love he is insatiably curious.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he's a reader. He's insatiably
Yep.
curious, and that's good people to hang around. Let us end it on that note, and let us come back maybe midwinter time or something, and have another round of
I think
check-in.
that'd be cool.
That sure would.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much for being here. If you like what you see, what you heard, check out Wendy and her team at LTL. Y'all know y'all see this guy again, so have no fear. And Wendy, what's the call to action? Where can someone go to find out more, to reach you for services?
Okay, I need to phone a friend. No, teasing. Our website is www.leadteachlearn.com or LTL360.com. You can find us either way. You can also call. You can call me. You can text me. 281-773-4604. Feel free. This work matters, and we're here for it. So you can also reach out at my email, Wendy, Wendy at LTL360.com. And if nothing else, you can call Aaron or call Wade. They'll find me.
And I was going to say that, honestly, Rick, if they want to really dig deep into what she does and how she becomes a valued partner, holler at me.
Excellent. You know everybody.
Thanks.
Let's end it there. So, hey, thank you for joining us on a co-branded edition, The Path Forward, a little bit of Evolve to Solve, and Unlock 360. Thank y'all.